Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. My name is Cameron, and today we're going to start remodeling this old club car. Today we're going to start off by adding a lift kit so we can add on these mod wheels. Today we chose to use the All Sport 6-inch heavy duty lift kit. All Sport is a great brand made here in America. If you would like to get one for yourself, go to golfcartking.com. Although we are installing a heavy duty 6-inch lift kit, this video can be used for the 6-inch standard lift kit, the 4-inch standard lift kit, and the 4-inch heavy duty lift kit. Here's what you're going to have out of the box. These will be the tools you're going to need to complete the lift kit. We will also put them in the description below. The first step to any golf cart project is safety. First, you want to make sure your parking brake is engaged. Your key is on off. The run and tow switch is set to tow. Now, let's jack up the golf cart. Club cars have a nice firm piece of metal on the front of the golf cart to jack up from. And once you have your floor jacks in a safe space underneath the club car, you can now drop your jack. Now we're going to take off our wheel and our bumper. For this, you're going to need your 19 socket and an impact. When taking off your front bumper, behind the bumper will be a long bolt. The top is a 10mm wrench and the bottom is a size 13mm socket. If your club car has a front bumper light, after you remove the bumper, just go ahead and detach the cables. And now you're going to want to remove the wheel hub. Go ahead and take your 13/16 and remove that bad boy. After that, it should slide off pretty easy. After you have removed both wheel hubs, we're going to remove the tie rod. To remove the tie rod, you're going to need a 17mm wrench for the top. You're going to need an 18mm socket for the bottom. After that, it should come right out. Do that to both sides. Go ahead and put this nut back on there because you're going to reuse it. After removing both tie rods, you're going to want to remove the steering box. But to remove the steering box, you're going to have 3 bolts holding it on. And then you're going to have a steering yoke. That is being held on by a 10mm bolt. So you're going to want to take your 10mm and remove this bolt. We use an extension, and then you're going to take your 13mm and remove these 3 bolts. Once you remove the bolts from the steering box and the steering yoke, they should be able to separate. If you're having a little bit of trouble, go ahead and use a small pry bar. And if you don't have a pry bar, you can even do a really strong flathead screwdriver. Our next step is to remove the control arm. To do this, you got to remove 2 bolts right here that are connected to the shock, and 1 bolt back at the frame. These are all 13mm, and there is no nut at the back because the nut is welded on. You want to actually keep this long bolt because it will be reused. There will be 2 of them. Take this shock and go ahead and after it comes out, push it out the way. After you've successfully moved both shocks out of the way, the next step is to remove this front spring. To do that, we have 4 bolts that we will use that same 13mm socket to remove. Once you do that, the whole piece should come out together. You will now have your A-arm and your factory toe mount. In your little bag of bolts, grab the 1.5-inch bolt, and you'll use these bolts to attach the A-arm back to the mount. When you're ready to put on the A-arm, try to grab a friend. It's easier to do with 2 people, but I'm going to show you how to do it by yourself. First, take that toe mount, and it's going to go underneath the A-frame. There is a bolt, and it will sit right in that hole. What I like to do is take my feet and place them underneath, and that helps you lift it up. Once you have hand tightened the bolts, these new bolts are actually a 17mm, so grab your 17mm socket and go ahead and tighten them. Alrighty, next we'll be installing the control arm. When you install these, you want to make sure the bracket is facing up so the suspension can lock in. These bolts that we talked about saving earlier, it's time to use them. So once you put these control arms back underneath the frame, these bolts will stick right through there back where they were. These older cars can be a little tight fit right here, so we like to keep a mallet. That helps a lot, trying to hit it in there and get it going. Go ahead and put your bolts in. They are a 13mm, and just go ahead and give them a nice snug tight. Alrighty, next, you're gonna need a 2-inch hex head bolt. You should have 2 of them. And we're gonna take those shocks that we moved out the way earlier, and we're just gonna pull them down. They're gonna fit right in that control arm, and just go ahead and slide your bolts in, and then you have a nut that can go on the back of it. You're gonna do that to both sides. Go ahead and grab your 13mm wrench and your 13mm socket, and go ahead and give it a nice tight. So as you remember, we had those 3 13mm bolts and that one 10mm bolt. I like to go ahead and do one of the 13s just to go ahead and get it back into place. You can hand tighten this, and after you get it in there hand tight, it'll sit in there and allow you to put the 10mm bolt back in the steering wheel. Awesome. And go ahead and put the rest of your 13mm bolts in there. And once you got them started with your hands, go ahead and give everything a nice tighten. It's time to put these spindles in, and to do that, you're gonna need a 2-inch bolt and the 3/8 washer. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take that washer and that bolt and take your spindle and make sure you have your steering knuckle facing forward. Go ahead and put your washer with the head facing down. And then line your bolt up and hand tighten them in. Alrighty, once you have it hand tightened, you can grab your 15/16 socket and go ahead and tighten it. Alright, now after you have the 2 big bolts tightened, it's time to tighten your tie rod. Like the same way we took it off, you're gonna use your 17mm and then your 18mm socket. Next, we have our wheel hubs. We're actually deciding to replace our wheel hubs with brand new Golf Cart King brand. They should slide right back on, and then just go ahead and hand tighten that nut back on. After you have it hand tight, go ahead and grab that 13/16 we were using earlier and tighten it up. Now that everything's installed, you can go ahead and take a look at it, and if you do your steering wheel, it should go ahead and turn. Go ahead and test everything out. Does it look right? Does it feel right? Now that we have the lift installed, go ahead and re-jack up the cart, and let's get ready to install the new wheels. We're gonna go ahead and go to the back of the club car and install the back side of the lift kit. So go ahead and jack up the rear of the golf cart and put your jack stands underneath the golf cart in a secure location, because we will be removing the jack later. After you have everything in place, go ahead and remove the rear wheels. So the brake cable is attached by a little pin right here that we're gonna have to take out. So go ahead and remove the little bolt that's in there, and the brake cable should come right off. Make sure to keep this pin for later, because when you reattach your brake line, this is what keeps it connected. And next, we're gonna remove the U-bolt and the shock. The U-bolt has 2 16mm nuts, and the shock has one 15mm nut. You can go ahead and remove your U-bolt and the shock. And the plate that we just loosened, it should be attached to the brake line. Go ahead and leave that attached. We're gonna use it later. So next, we have to remove those leaf springs. And when you do that, it will bring the motor down. So go ahead and jack the motor up to give it some support. We're gonna remove this whole leaf spring right here. To do that, you have a size 10mm bolt with a size 13mm nut. You have one on the front and one on the back. Go ahead and take your 13mm wrench on the back side and your 10mm socket on the front side and loosen it up. And do the same for the front and the back of the spring. Now that you've removed your bolts, this leaf spring should go ahead and drop out. So when we took these leaf springs off, we realized the bushings were bad. So for you guys at home, if your bushings are bad, you're gonna need to buy a bushing kit to repair them. Once the leaf spring is removed, let's make sure we finish this side before we start on the other side. Because right now your axle is only being held up by your jack and the other side. So now we're gonna use the jack to lower the axle down. You should have room to reinstall your leaf spring above the axle. After you have hand tightened the bolts of the leaf spring, grab your 13mm and your 10mm and go ahead and tighten it back up. Go ahead and take your axle seat, and your axle seat has a hole. If you look at your leaf spring, there's a bolt in the middle of it, and that axle seat sits right on top of the axle, and that hole lines up with that bolt of the leaf spring. So you should be on top of the axle, but beneath the leaf spring. Go ahead and give your jack a little bit of pressure to bring that axle up. Next, we're gonna need the shock plate. If you look at the shock plate, you notice it's a rectangle with a knuckle. When we put this on, we wanna make sure the knuckle is facing the rear of the golf cart and the long part of the shock plate is facing our motor. so it'll go just like that above the leaf spring. Your knuckle on the shock plate should line up perfectly with your shock. Now take your 2 U-bolts and you're gonna insert them like this. One in the front and one in the back. Go ahead and grab your bottom plate, and your bottom plate is gonna line up with all of these U-bolt legs. It should look something like this. Go ahead and grab your brake line mounting bracket. We're gonna use the first hole and the third hole on these 2 right here. And you're gonna put them on the opposite corners of each other. Alrighty, now we're gonna take our 4 nuts and our 4 washers and put them on each piece of the U-bolts. And then just go ahead and hand tighten those. Go ahead and take your 14mm socket and your ratchet and tighten all the bolts up. Make sure to apply pressure evenly so all 4 nuts go up smoothly. We are now gonna reattach the shock. The shock will reattach to the shock plate, and the knuckle on the shock plate has a hole where the shock will go into. This is a good time to look at your bushings and make sure your bushings are good. If they're not good, go ahead and replace them, but if you think they're still in good condition, our bushings here were in bad condition. So we're gonna go ahead and replace them with new ones. Now go ahead and install your bushings. Once your top bushing is on, you can go ahead and pull down the shock through the knuckle that's attached to the shock plate. And then same thing on the bottom. Now you can go ahead and put your nut on. Go ahead and hand tighten that nut. Go ahead and use your 14mm socket and wrench to tighten up that nut. Your shock is gonna rotate. Go ahead and grab it to keep it in place. When lining up the brake line, go ahead and line up these 3 holes just like that. You're gonna have a little bolt with a hole at the end of it. Go ahead and feed that through. Now we're gonna take that cotter pin we had earlier and feed it through that small hole. I like to use pliers or anything you guys have at home to pinch it together. Alrighty, once everything is tight and ready to go ahead and rewind the video and follow the same steps for the other side. Go ahead and keep that jack ready to go to help support the motor and the axle. Once you're done with both sides, feel free to go ahead and put your wheels back on, and then I'll meet you guys at the front of the car. Alright guys, now that all your tires are on and the lift is complete, you got one of 3 options. If you need to do an alignment, we're gonna link another video in the description that we've already made to help you guys do that. Number 2, if you wanna go ahead and put on your bumper, or number 3, you can just leave it off. Some people really like this look, and that's totally cool. Alrighty guys, thanks for joining. Now y'all have y'all's own lifted golf cart. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments for us, and we're happy to help. Make sure to like and subscribe to see what we do to this car next.